Combine gave me fits. My combine gave me fits.
Yeah, what's his name? Craig Spore said he broke the shaft on his combine. Way up the end of the field.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The hour being 9:01, I hereby call to order the Public Service Committee meeting on Thursday, November 18, 2021. I'm Vern Tepe. Can we have a roll call?
Copey,
Kobe's present.
Brown,
Here.
Leonard,
Leonard here.
Lewis, Shepro,
Shepro here.
Sturgis,
Sturgis, so excited to be here.
Tepe.
Tepe here.
You have quorum.
Mr. Shepro, may we have a
Request unanimous consent to place the minutes on file, approve and place on file.
Thank you. Any objection? So done. Public comments. I have nobody signed up and there appears to be nobody here. Quiet morning. Okay. So, finance. Anybody here online from finance? Okay, we have the finance reports on file. All right. Our recorder's office. Good morning.
Morning, everyone. Once again, I hate to sound like a broken record, but we are still doing a booming business. We are still getting a lot of refinancing, lots of sales, and a lot of corporate sales still. We didn't have any kind of a seasonal downturn. You know, sometimes when school starts, you get a little bit slower. It has not. It has stayed steady completely through. And usually towards the end of the year, you get a little bit more of the corporate because they try doing a lot of the big transactions before the end of the year for fiscal purposes. So we're anticipating we're going to keep on rolling here. So
Good. I saw, in fact, I was over there a little bit yesterday. Anyway.
oh, you
Thank you.
did. You should stop in sometime on my side. So
Any questions?
Question from Kobe, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Copey.
Thank you, sir. This question is for the treasurer. I have made requests on several occasions to the treasurer during.
Treasurer's next.
Who am I speaking to?
this is the recorder.
Oh, the
Yeah,
recorder.
recorder.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, recorder. It's for the treasurer.
I'm sorry, you had nothing? Okay,
My question is for the treasurer.
all right. So next is the treasurer's office. Good morning.
Good morning. My report is on file, but I do have information about the tax sale that was held November 1st. We had, as of the sale time, 1,732 properties or parcels that were unpaid. 1,473 were sold. There were 89 no sale. There were county owned or they're in bankruptcy. And 170 were sold to King County trustee. There were 34 registered buyers. That's of interest because the state had the new law this year in which a single buyer law, which required you could only represent yourself or your business. In the past, there were more than 100 here. And with the single buyer law, there was only 34 this time. We now have collected 99.98% of the taxes out there. That's $1,387,616,621. The elevator upgrade went just fine for our office. We did service several people down in the lobby, thanks to the sheriff deputy who was standing by there, notify us people who couldn't make it up the steps. So we went down to them and serviced them. And the office, like the rest of the county, will be closed Thursday, Thanksgiving, and Friday afterwards.
Okay, Mr. Copey.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Treasurer, the question I had was in regards to determining First of all, there's been a lot of discussion about taxpayers and the potential of raising tax on this and raising tax on that. And in regards to the property tax, the question still remains, and I've spoken with the supervisor of assessment. I brought this issue up with you on several occasions during open meeting, and the question still remains, who exactly are the taxpayers? When we speak of raising property taxes, we're speaking only of that particular group of people. And we really need to know who they are and if they could be broke down between commercial, industrial, residential, and then commercial residential. And then I believe we can have an open, honest conversation about raising the property taxes or not raising the property taxes on those individuals. It is those individuals that pay for everything that we do, and we need to determine who they are. That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
I don't understand your question. What is it you would like?
I would like to have a list broke down and possibly the percentage of contribution that can be attributed to each of these different categories of taxpayers.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, thank you, Mark.
Mark Armstrong, Supervisor of Assessments. To the extent that we have that information at the county, that information is already on the county clerk's website. If you go to the tax extension section, they have a section called Tax Extension Detail Reports. There's a whole bunch of reports. There are categories for year going all the way back to 2004. If it's data that's available, that's where it would reside, because once it gets finalized and extended, the county clerk maintains that data there. Now, what we want to look at is an assessment detail report. That will certainly give exactly the breakdown you're describing. Now, what it won't provide, and this is something you've discussed before, is whether we can simply narrow it down to all single family houses in the county and put them in a separate category. The answer is no. The reason for the answer with no is twofold. One is the category of residential is typically something called Class 40. Class 40, which, by the way, that if you wanted to break it down to Class 40, super easy to do. But Class 40 includes anything from 1 to 6 families. So that'll not only include single family dwellings, it'll include the condominium units, but it'll also include 2 flats up to 6 flats. Now, we don't have a whole lot of those in the county. I know we talked about what's the possibility of drilling that down further. I have done some investigating. We would need to enter into a contract with our software provider to actually have a way to maintain the data. Then we would need to import the data from each of our 16 township assessors, but each of those maintain it in a somewhat different format because they all maintain it to solve the problems of their own jurisdiction. And as you can imagine, Aurora Township needs to be stratified differently than, say, Caneville Township. So to do that, I would have to devote staff time and we'd have to enter into new software contracts. Offhand, I think we could give your answer for about $50,000 because it's a whole bunch of CAMA information that would have to be imported and able to extract that out. If that's something the county board would like me to do, I can certainly submit a budget adjustment to increase my office's funding to do that. It is not my recommendation. I'm not sure that the answer would be terribly different. I don't think we have a whole lot of that type of multifamily in the county outside of a few pockets on the eastern part of the county. And I'm not sure we get a very different answer from that question. But in a general sense, that answer is always also available. Also, I would check the quick guide to property taxes. And I know we sent those to each county board member earlier this year, as we do every year when we update them. That has a general breakdown of residential, commercial, industrial, farm, and railroad. By the way, the other problem with breaking down residential is farm property. There's 2 types of farm classifications, farm with buildings and farm without. The farm with buildings includes the home site and the home, but the farm values will be lumped into that. So to further break those out, we would need to design something to extract that data a little bit further. Again, it wouldn't be a lot different, and I can't recommend that kind of expense, but if that's something the county board would like to do, I'd be happy to get a formal proposal and submit for a budget adjustment. Does that answer your question?
In a sense, it does. The extrapolation of detail to that extent, I don't think would be necessary. And certainly that type of expense, I don't see how that could be feasible. And then, but the question still remains is that we do have available information on these other within these other assessment detail reports, the class 40 residential, the tax extension reports, and to a higher degree, and I will admit that I probably would not be able to cipher that efficiently. And that's why I'm asking this committee to consider some type of an avenue to discover who exactly, not exactly, but just roughly who we're talking about, and to divide those major categories to see who the major taxpayers are. And with the discussion I had with you a couple of weeks ago was that the information can be discerned with some manipulation of the township assessors, and then if we were able to engage the township assessor into this project, that it would be more feasible.
Well, that's actually
those
the expense
gross
I was talking
expenses.
about. That's
Pardon me?
actually the expense I was talking about,
Oh.
because it's not just asking them for information on on conclusions, because they're all going to measure it a little bit differently. We would need to have to gather that data in itself to get that precision. I think we're almost all the way there with the existing data. Perhaps, Mr. Chairman, if I may suggest a way to go forward on this issue, once I get returned to the office, I'm actually in Normal today for the Illinois Association of County Officials Conference. Once I return to the office, I'd be happy to send to this committee the links to the reports that are set up by the county clerk. And that way you can take a look at those reports yourself. And if there's further detail you needed, send me something in writing. I can see what I can get you before the next meeting.
Exactly.
Would that
what
be
I was going to
acceptable?
That was exactly what I was going to suggest. Thank you.
Question,
welcome.
Shepro.
Yes, Mr. Shepro.
Mark, if I understand what Mr. Copey is talking about, for example, you could tell us, I think, how many parcels are class 40, for example.
Yes.
And would that also include or could be broken out as to the assessed value of all of those parcels?
Yes.
All right, but in order to determine how much tax they pay, you would have to do it parcel by parcel because there's no uniform rate throughout the county.
That's correct. Although that's not a difficult thing to do with class 40. The question that has become difficult if we want to break it down further. In other words, go individual property types within class 40, because that's not information that's maintained at the county, it's maintained at the township.
If I heard Mr. Copey correctly, it seemed as if he was asking for two different types of information, because do you not, or at least I thought I'd seen it in the past, a list of like the top 20 or top 10 or taxpayers in Kane County by dollar amount paid?
Yes, that list shows up in the comprehensive annual financial report that's published by the finance department every year. But that's a standard report that comes out of our assessment administration system that is shared with the clerk and the treasurer. I believe the treasurer also publishes that report, typically in a press release or the time tax bills go out. So if you'd like that information, I can certainly run that report as well. We can do it by top assessment or top dollars paid. The report can be run both ways.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Back to Mr. Kilborn.
Any other questions? Thank you.
And next we have Mark, you're up now, Mr. Armstrong.
Thank you, everyone. Again, I apologize for not being present in person as I usually am. As I mentioned, I'm in Normal at the conference of the Illinois Association of County Officials. Be here until tomorrow when I'll be returning to the office. My report is on pages 28 and 29 of the packet. I would note that one data point is incomplete on the chart on page 29, and that's telephone inquiries. Due to the migration to the Mitel system, that number was not available at the time this report was sent. So once we get that updated, we'll include those totals, hopefully by the end of next month. And so when the year-end reports come out in January, that I'll be giving to you at the January meeting, we can have that information updated. Other than that, everything is in the report, and we're still on target to be on time and under budget. I'd be happy to answer any questions any members of the committee have.
Any questions? Not. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Regional Office of Education.
Good morning, everyone. This is
Oh.
Deanna Oliver, Assistant Regional Superintendent. And I have a relatively brief report this morning, but wanted to provide an update on some events that we are hosting. The first one is on December 10th. We're hosting a reunification training at Canelan School District. This is a safety training through a federal grant that our office had received. It's the COPS SVPP grant, and that we entered into with 5 other public school districts. But the event is going to be open to all of our school districts in the county, and then police departments as well, to obtain training so that if there is an emergency in a school, everyone knows exactly what steps need to be followed. So many of our schools are entering into redoing their plans post-COVID. So we're excited to be partnering on that activity. You are all invited on December 8th to the photo exhibition at the Batavia Fine Arts Center. That's at 6:00 p.m. We have all of our school districts participating, including some non-public. So you've probably been seeing some of those photos that have been on Kane County Connects. December 12th through 14th, our office is hosting, on behalf of our statewide organization of regional superintendents, the Raising Student Achievement Conference, and we're happy to be hosting it in person. It will be located in Schaumburg this year. So we have about 500 educators from across the state that are participating in that, and our office, again, coordinates that entire activity. And we also have, you may have heard, substitute teacher shortages in our county, but not just Kane County, but really across the state. And so we're going to be hosting an online short-term sub training that people can take at any time, and you can become a substitute teacher under the short-term sub license with just 60 college credit hours. So again, that's available through our office, and we've opened it up so that people can take it at their convenience at any time. And that's my report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Question, Shepro?
Mr. Shepro.
Yeah, the 60 hours, is that 60 hours ever or 60 additional hours once you sign up?
It's just 60 hours of, it just has to be higher ed. So at some point, there's no limit as to when it was taken, just the 60 hours, and it doesn't need to be in addition to anything other than a high school diploma.
I mean, many years ago, that I care to remember, I was a substitute teacher, but I hadn't taken any higher education credits. It was just based on a college degree. That's changed, I gather?
No, you can still do it with a high school diploma, or with a college degree. You can automatically become a regular substitute teacher, but these short-term sub licenses are available through 2023. And it's just for those people who have a high school diploma plus 60 hours in any content area at the college level.
Thank
And that
you.
was created by ISB due to the substitute teacher shortage.
That's great. We hope you're successful with that.
Thank you.
Question, Copy?
Mr. Copey.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, in previous reports from supervisor of the schools, there was a question about truancy, and then the attribution to the truancy was that these kids were mentally challenged, and that's the reason why they were truant. And I was wondering if, and they were going to take some steps. We were confident that there were going to be some steps taken to determine who these truant were and if they were able to, of course, you don't have to report on this now because it's information that you wouldn't have readily available to you, but perhaps maybe next month we could hear a report on if we're having any progress in getting these kids back to school. I assume COVID had plenty to do with it.
It does, and it continues to be difficult for our kids who were so isolated to return to school, and where others are really thriving. For some kids, it's been very difficult. So we've been, just on a side note, and then we can report later, but using the IRIS system that was created by the Children's Mental Health Grant through the health department, we've been referring children through the IRIS software for services.
And this also put some emphasis on that there was a pretty broad statement about the children that are truant were predominantly had mental health issues, and I was wondering how that was, how you were able to ascertain that and determine the mental health of a person that was not even available for the school to monitor.
Yeah, I don't know which statement that you're referring to, but I would say that because a student is truant doesn't mean we don't see those kids. It just means that they are missing greater than 10% of the school year. So we are seeing kids still in meetings that are really having significant difficulty.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much. County Clerk, good morning.
Good morning. I am Celeste Wyland, Executive Assistant to John Cunningham, Clerk John Cunningham, and I'm here to present officially his monthly report. I don't have anything significant to bring to you other than the report. I will remind you and the public that if you have questions regarding the election that's coming up, the 2022 general primary, you can go to our website at www.kanecountyclerk.org. And on the page, you'll see all the information of when there's times to register, the last day to register for the primary election, which is on June 28th, 2022. So with that, do you have any questions regarding the monthly report?
Any questions?
Question from Copey?
Mr. Copey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Celeste, I was reviewing the proposed budget and particularly in the regards for this discussion, the clerk's office.
Mm-hmm.
And it appears to me, unless I'm not reading it correctly, that the predominant source of revenue is coronavirus relief funds, and to the tune of $1 million plus, without digging through this 1-inch thick document. Do you anticipate an interruption in the next election cycle and in regards to coronavirus considerations?
That would be a question I could bring to Jack
Okay,
because I can't answer that.
okay,
Or you can stop by the office, like he always says, his office is
of
open.
course.
But I will bring it to his attention.
Thank you. And then I had some other regards to the clerk's office. Mr. Chairman has made it clear that we can possibly make recommendations from this committee. And the last election, 2 election cycles were a little bit difficult, and we've had the public come and with pitchforks and so on to in regards to certain anomalies that have taken place, and those questions, they're pertinent questions, and I would like to know if there will be an interruption in those details that we anticipate to take place during the elections, and not limited to chain of custody, perhaps video monitoring, the provisional ballots, this perpetual mail ballot without a check and balance in regards to who's actually living in the apartment building where these ballots are being just automatically mailed to. And there's a host of questions that are pertinent, and they are valid, and they are timely. And
Can you please be specific rather than being generic?
no, because the clerk is not here to answer the questions, and every time I bring up the topics, I have to be referred to the clerk. So just for the advantage of this committee hearing my voice in regards to District 9, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
And I do apologize. He is along with his directors and Brian at the National Association of County Officials in Bloomington, Normal.
No
So
problem.
he is there.
Comment, Shepro?
Mr. Shepro?
I think even if the clerk were here, I think it would be helpful if a member has specific questions to actually write them down. And that way there's no confusion about what the question is, and it can either be answered or not as the information is available. And somewhat more facetiously, my thought is that the people with pitchforks should be referred to the Agriculture Committee.
Well, Mr. Kenyon is here. We'll take note of that. Thank you, Mr. Shepro.
Mr. Chairman, Surges here.
Mr. Surges.
Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge to the committee that I did reach out to Jack's office seeking some information about a program or a company or consultant called Ballot Tracks, and that Jack and I both agreed we'd get together in person and speak of it after the Thanksgiving holiday.
Okay,
Just reporting in.
Would you send me a note on that, please?
I would be happy to.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much, Celeste. Any other business?
Request unanimous consent, Mr. Chairman, to place all reports on file.
Thank you, Mr. Shepro. Any objections? May I have a motion to adjourn?
Leonard, so moves.
Shepro, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good morning.